Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Carolina plus 450. A little bit of value there's a third favorite. And the long shot is New Orleans plus 1,000. If you look at the win total, it is the same for Carolina and New Orleans, but the division price doubles down to New Orleans. Same win total, but the betting market's saying, yeah, the Saints are going to be rough this year. Where do we start in this division?
I'd start there at the bottom. This could be one of the worst teams in the NFL. And that's not exactly a hot take, but you're going to give the reins to Tyler Shough at quarterback. Okay, fine. And then his backup is Spencer Rattler. So if things go south, you go to Rattler, who I've never been fond of. Remember Spencer Rattler one year was the Heisman Trophy favorite? That did not pan out. We'll see. I mean, I like Kellen Moore. Obviously has a good mind for churning out offense and balancing the run and the pass, but I just don't think they have the ability there. I don't like their line. You know, I was happy to see them take Kelvin Banks at left tackle. That's a step in the right direction, and I think there was clearly some direction there from the new regime. Hey, we need to bolster this whole line because Kellen Moore's coming from Philly, where he had monsters all over the line. You need a line to run the ball in the NFL. But I don't know what you're going to get from Kamara. And Olave is a guy that just can't stay on the field. So I'm not high on them. I can't believe Tyler Shough is going to be starting week 1 in the NFL.
Insane.
And that's the win total that I look under. It's under. Definitely not an over for me. And then I think the one team that we should talk about is Carolina, right? This was a wise guy team last year. And it wasn't just Chernoff. It was other guys that we respect that were high on Carolina. Not so much to win the NFC, win the Super Bowl, but to go over the win total actually be a decent bet to win the division. They were 7-8-1 last year, I think, to win the NFC South. Mm-hmm. And you look at the price now, plus 450 at BetMGM. So the respect is there from the bookmakers. If Bryce Young can take that next step, this is a team that is knocking on the door, right? There's a lot of things there that I like. And I remember I went to Bears-Panthers last year. It was in Chicago. And the injury report was it's a joke. Carolina had 6 defensive starters out in that game. And the Bears just lit them up in that specific game. But they just got bludgeoned by the injuries on D. And assuming that regresses the right way and they have some injury luck, this is a team that could win the NFC South. And I don't think that's the worst idea in the world, taking Carolina over the win total and maybe to win the division.
You're so right about the injuries. And it wasn't just that one game. It was every week because we track this stuff. So, with the Thursday injury reports coming out and then Friday, we're doing that on the show. And each of us have different Sunday morning shows here in the BetMGM network. And okay, we're taking a look at the final injury reports, most of them coming out on Friday and what ends up happening. And that's talked about in breaking news and on Sunday morning and every week it was. And it's not just the number of starters that were injured for the Panthers defense. It was their most impactful players. It was J.C. Horn at corner. It was up front. It was Tuttle on the inside. It was Josie Jewell, one of their impactful linebackers too. It's like the best player every level of that defense was hurt every week of the season, just about. So how could that not impact them? And then you look this year, they bring in 4 new defensive starters. It looks like they do have a little bit of depth there as well. Like Tuttle is listed as a backup at this point. And then to help the young quarterback, I think we saw Leggett develop a little bit. He had a pretty strong second half of the season, and they don't stop there and say, okay, now we got our top receiver. He's good. No, they go out and they get Ted McMillan very early on in the draft. So I do like what Carolina's doing overall. Bryce Young looked like a different quarterback in the second half of the season after many were declaring him a bust. I don't know, man. I think there is upside there. We're marking off New Orleans. You're so right about Tyler Shuck. And you look at the other options. If that doesn't work, where are you going? Rattler? Jake Hayner? They could be the worst team in the NFL. So there's upside with Carolina, and I think there's upside with Atlanta. That's a team that I'm looking at. And I know there are many people that have been burned by this team in the past, and you've been over the win total, and they find a way not to go over. But this could be the year in Bijan's third season where everything comes together. And most of the team is back. Dahlman, the center, is gone. The safety, Simmons, gone. I liked what they did in the draft. And while a couple years ago they were crucified for taking a quarterback very early after bringing in Kirk Cousins, what they did this year is look, for a while, we have been the worst in the NFL at pressuring the quarterback. Enough of that. Let's just go get the best edge guys. And that's what they did in the first round. Jalen Walker, and then they go get James Pierce. A couple of SEC edge guys. I don't think that's a bad idea if that's where you need to improve the team the most. And, of course, Michael Penix. He's your quarterback. We're expecting to see a more explosive offense. Second year with Zach Robinson. I think there are a lot of reasons to like the Atlanta Falcons this season.
It's very funny. We're breaking down the NFC South, and we've talked about the three teams that aren't favored.
Right.
Right? We haven't even touched on Tampa Bay, who BetMGM has at plus 105. Not betting that. Yeah. Not interested. No, I'm not either. Back to the Panthers for a second. I really love their draft. And I know that you and I are friends with Eric Eager, who is hopefully getting more and more pull inside the organization. They get McMillan in the first round. And then what did they do? 2, 3, 4, defense. Second round, third round, fourth round, defense. Even in the fifth round, they take Cam Jackson on the nose. So this is a team that is addressing the obvious needs on that side of the ball. They go out, they draft 4 defensive players in rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, and then they bring guys in free agency, right? You bring in Bobby Brown, you bring in Patrick Jones, you bring in Wharton from Kansas City. They addressed the line. And that's what you really have to do in the NFL. You have to get to the quarterback and protect the quarterback. And the Panthers had an issue with that last year on the defensive side. Well, guess what? They addressed it. And I think that safety Ransom from Ohio State is a steal in the fourth round. I love that pick. They also went out, they got ETN, they got Jimmy Horn from Colorado on offense. I think it was a very, very solid draft. So if you can't already tell, I'm buying Carolina Panther stock in the NFC South.
Yeah. Carolina, as far as the win total, see, the Atlanta one is juiced up at 7.5. Carolina barely. BetMGM has it 6.5 minus 120 to the over. That's a very tempting price. It sounds like you're going to be betting the over 6.5.
I think that's also a team that covers a lot of spreads this year. I think we'll look up at the end of December and see the Panthers be 65% ATS. I don't know that they're going to win 9-10 games. I don't want to get crazy, but this will be a team that is probably going to cover a lot of point spreads. And that's what matters in our world, right? Good teams win, great teams cover. This is probably a cover machine this year in the fall.
And we've got to hit on Tampa Bay. They lose your guy, Liam Cohen, to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So how are you going to replace him? They promote Josh Grizzard. He was a passing game coordinator a year ago, so he's working under Combe. He's been in the Dolphins organization as well as an assistant coach over the last number of years. So that's his pedigree. That's where he comes from. That's a big ask to replace Cohen. And everybody on that offense getting a year older. We're not questioning Baker, but at receiver, they understand the age. They go draft Buka from Ohio State. But how many more years, as Godwin seems to get injured every single year? Mike Evans, we see him break all-time records for the Buccaneers. How many more years are you going to get with him? They're a good team. They're solid. We're just not betting them at even money in the division.
No, definitely not. And I would probably look under the win total. This is one of my favorite divisions to fade the favorite.
Mhm.
And you can do that probably early in the season, weeks 1 through 5. The power rating is high. I think the power rating is wrong, though, on Tampa. So I'll be looking to short.
All right. Yeah, sounds like we're in agreement there. We just identified a couple of different teams. I like them both. You're higher on Carolina. I'm a little bit higher on Atlanta, but I do also like Carolina. And boy, I know it's going to be juice, but should we just take under 6.5 for the Saints?
That
That's
could be
going
a
to be
3-win
rough.
team. Could be a 3-win team.
Totally.